Hi.
Hello.
I like your shirt.
Rethinking things on the rear axle of the Zephyr. Got this whole four-link kit, or what's left over from that, and I got some ideas. I'm trying to keep this reasonably low budget, and the leaf springs weren't working for me, so I pulled the rear axle out. There it is on the floor, clear of the vehicle. And what we're going to attempt to do today is get it back on all four with air suspension. All right, so I did a bunch of reading, and a lot of these, because it is King of the Hammer season, and we didn't make it this year, but a lot of rigs out there are using a 3-link suspension. These are high horsepower, go over everything, all-terrain vehicles. And I thought, well, I have a 4-link kit, why wouldn't I just do 4-link? And it's because I was missing pieces, I decided maybe a 3-link. So I started here. Again, this is my first try. If this doesn't work, we're going to cut it off. I was seeing on some of the front axles on a 4x4, especially these rock crawlers, your differential, like Jamie's Jeep, will be over to the side, Exhibit A. Note how that is on the side. So on the 3-links, they were setting up the top pivot, the top heim joint, on top of the differential. So some of the 3-links had 2 arms coming out here, 1, 2, and the 3rd link on top. Sometimes this top one was over here or over here. So me thinking that it wasn't important to have it centered. So many things in my discipline with 4-links has been measure everything, center everything. So I'm going to try this out. I landed this right here in the center of this casting web just because it's not even side to side, but none of those 4x4s were either. So is this a rock crawler? Does it need perfect articulation side to side? Heck no. This thing's going to have 3 or 4 inches of suspension travel. I think it's going to be okay. One primary difference from what I saw with the rock crawlers is I'm going to use a little bit of a mini truck style arrangement where the 3rd link is actually going to be a wishbone. There's going to be 1 heim joint here, but this is going to split into a V, so it'll be triangulated. You'll have 2 links parallel with the chassis, give or take a little triangulation, and then this one will come out this way. I'll explain how I arrived at all this once we go to the parts bin. You'll see that this heim joint is 3/4 inch. I got double jam nuts on there just for setup because this is adjustable. See, we can make this longer or shorter. If I remove 1 nut, we can go way shorter. So that's what I was thinking. Just for a setup, we got that locked. These are little weld-in bungs. They fit the tube size we're using. Let's go back to the table.
Is bung an actual word?
Yes. Yes, it is. This is the bung. This is the bung hole. Dig it? You think I'm making this up? Look in the dictionary.
Oh, yeah. Ian and I are children.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I had this 4-link kit. Here are the 4 links, A, B, C, and D. But I used some of the heim joints on another project. Thusly, I only have 6 heim joints.
Ew.
And it's 2 per link. So I got 2, 4, 6.
I was like, where's the other
Then I thought, because of the traditional 4-link, you're running these 2 lower ones parallel. They're like this in the car. So they get 1 of these on each end. So that's 4 pieces gone. These are a little bit smaller than that loose cannon over there. That's why I thought I started pulling parts out of everywhere. These are 5/8, and this was the kit. So these are a little undersized compared to the other one, but you got 4 of these. So that one's taking a lot of the pressure because it's so low. And then I thought, well, if I'm using 3/4 there, why would I use these 2 smaller 5/8 when that center link is potentially the triangulating link that's going to have a lot of pressure on it? So I have these. These are bushings from another 4-link kit, and these are 3/4 inch, at least on this end, 5/8 in here. Yeah. So this is the best part of the trip. You got these, right? And because, I'm gonna lay it out on the ground right here. So you got, actually, that was really loud. Let's put this on the axle area. It's gonna be even more descriptive. These lower ones are gonna attach to the axle somewhere in here. And they're gonna be doing just that, up and down, and maybe if you go over a speed bump, they're gonna triangulate a little, articulate. They're gonna be like this in the car, and maybe they're gonna do that. But what's gonna happen here is that pivot. This is why I'm able to use these, because the heim joints swivel. See, you got all this, but these only do this. There will be some flex, but these are very rigid. So this center link, oops, they're gonna go this way. This center link, these will be attached somewhere in the car, but these will only go up and down. And when the axle rotates on the triangular part, they'll do that. Good used parts. Now, the question is, how do we put all this together? First, we gotta put some brackets on the axle. Then we gotta weld some ends on these. Then we gotta put it up in the car and see how long these link arms are gonna be. And finally, well, thirdly or fourthly, this link gets created. That's gonna be the trickiest part of the whole operation. After that, airbags come up. I don't know if I'll need a cross link to keep the axle centered in the car, because this is triangulated off of here. I don't see that moving. Otherwise, I could do a Watts link or a cross link, but that's science for another day. So let's get to building. The guy with 2 of the biggest workbenches in town. And here I am. So I got clutter. We're gonna have to make some brackets to hold all this together. So the link kit came with all these. These look like they would go on the chassis. Bada bing, bada boom. But we don't need those. I use these and I cut them. This is round because it goes on the axle, but we're only using the lower links. So I cut these off, however it was. Put that in the saw and cut that off, because we're going to use these for the other ends of the arm. But we're going to have to build some little brackets to hold this all together. So let's set up 2 and 2 for the lower links. We're going to put a bolt through and shoot. So these, we might see how much articulation they're going to have. On that center link you saw, I put spacers so that this heim can really move. But, oops, I get that tight. That's, degrees wise, that's a pretty good amount of tilt for an axle. I don't see us needing more than that. Yeah, because that center line is like way out. That's like a lot. I think we can use that. Or if I have washers, we'll put a washer. Dang it, I should have got them at the hardware store. All right. I'm gonna set these up like this. We got 1, we got 2. So this one is reverse thread. We're gonna wanna make sure that they're both the same. That's reverse, that's tight. Reverse, that's tight. Because it works like a tie rod. You can spin that tube and make it longer or shorter. This is an example. It's going to look similar to this. So when these are locked in place, when you turn this, it gets longer or shorter. Fella sent me these, but they're not for this project. get an impact wrench on there and make it count. So that's one. So let's see if this fits the axle. We don't even know if it does. Yeah, perfect. So that's good news. So see this? It's going to go on the axle. Sometimes it's done like this, but I don't see why we can't do that. It seems like there's going to be a lot more bind that way. I'm going to put it on the front. Yeah, so we got two of those. So we'll get into the theory of measuring and leveling these, or getting them plumb. All right, so we got that tight. We got that tight. Cool. So here's my bubble level. It's got the little level in there. And I'm looking at this angle here. And there's a whole thing in theory of degrees of the incline of the angle here. So if you look at that space in here, so that's level right there. And we're going to have some adjustment of that in this. So that being said, I know that this is supposed to point down just a touch. I don't have a capacity to know how many degrees this is. So if this is pointing down as is, and we set these brackets up perfectly level, then we can adjust that angle there. So that's what we're going to do with these brackets. We're going to set this angle on the axle perfectly level. And we know they're both the same. I measured the inside of the car because we obviously don't want it to hit these C-notches. And as I remember, it was about 37 inside. And this isn't a hard measurement, it's just we need clearance. Yeah, 39 actually. So it would be 37 minimum on these. So if we measure from brake drum to brake drum, in here, that measurement is inside, it's 50 and a half. So that's 25 and a quarter on each side to center. So just to say, we don't need that measurement here. We don't need that here. But we can just double check. Yeah, 25 and a quarter. So this is the actual center of the piece. So we want it 37 to the outside of these links. But I'm gonna say we're gonna go 36. So I'm gonna do a quick measurement from here. So we're gonna go 18. And this is angled, so it's going to be actually a little bit narrower in the end, but we're going to do some math. We're just going to say 18 to here. That'll be the outside. We'll bring it 18 to here, and that'll be the outside. So to double check that, we're going to come off of the nut. We're going to measure 8 and a quarter. We're going to do the same here. Yeah, 8 and a quarter. So, you know, you can do a whole ton of math. That looks good to me because it's even. That's all that matters. Let's put this on. I'm going to face these hardware inside. So that's the outside we want. Hammer that in place a little bit. Again, there's a ton of math that can go into this. See how simple I'm setting it up. Just to say, Yeah, we're under 36, but you know, without a big caliper to go in like that, I don't know how you would get even more exact. Let's move it out just a bit, because I'm thinking where it's gonna mount in here, I do want to triangulate this. So the outside is gonna be, yeah, that's what we gotta end up with, because the mounts inside are going to be roughly 37 inches wide. So we want that to be just a little bit less than 36. So let's just double check this. Coming off the mounting hardware, gotta come in a little bit. Just a wee bit. So we're gonna set this. Yeah, there we go, at 8. Cool. So now we want this vertical. That wants to move out just a little bit. So that's setting right where it should be. And that looks good as well. So I'm going to tack this on. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to tack everything, and then it'll get pulled apart later and final welded it, but we're going to just test to see if this works in the car first before we commit. Good. All right. So let's look inside the car, and we're going to do the exact other side of these brackets attached to the chassis. When we put in the leaf springs, we measured out all of this stuff, and these were the mounts, preliminary mounts for the leaf springs. They're measured correct and they're very strong. So I think I'm going to eliminate this one and work off this with a new outside tab for the upper link. So the triangulated upper link is going to come off of these two. Hopefully we don't end up hitting this. That's another challenge I'm kind of feeling out with this. The lower mounts, I think the best place to be is going to be right in here. You know, as wide as possible, so we do achieve a bit of triangulation here as well. So what you could see is a lot of difference in dimension between, say, this angle where I would like to mount it and then this tube. So I got this heavy plate, 1/4 inch, and I think I'm going to build a mounting pad right here out of this stuff. So I can grab this and this with the weld. So let's go to the saw. We're going to cut 2 of these. I'm going to mock up those 2 brackets and see how wide this piece needs to be to land in here. Make a little reference. All right, so we got these brackets. The finger marks I made coming into here, so that much is hidden inside of that existing steel. Then we got these. So just like with the ones on the axle, these are going to mount like that. I think will be very strong. Or do you want it lower? Let's make it low as possible. Let's do that. So let's put, so we had reversed. We had the opposite threads on that end. So now we want this one. Yeah, so you want 2 of these, this and this. So let's do the same with this setup. We'll keep it low. It's going to come back. So we don't need a heck of a lot of material to get this where we want it. We're going to make 2 saw cuts at that big. Alright, so let's see what we're working with here. I want to put this against that as much as possible. I want that to be even at the bottom of the chassis. gonna need a considerable amount of welding, but that's a good base to start off of. I got it even with the bottom of the chassis, and I can weld it to this with a bit of a spacer in there. So we want this, get that right? Yeah, it's gonna be perfect. Because look, this is gonna grab that. That's awesome. Super. I'm gonna come in and dress all this up after. These are just rough cuts. See what the possibilities are. But I like how I can weld right here. That's super strong. So now you can see how the suspension will be able to move up and down, a little bit of side to side. So I think we could bring the axle in now. We'll make these two lower arms. That'll just be a cut to length, and then we'll design this top. I can't decide. If I'm going to take this tab off and just throw new tabs in, or I might drill that out. We'll see. It can take a bit of fussing to get that axle in place. See, this whole thing was loose.
Huh?
That's why it was not working.
Oh, wow.
We had some talk about the leaf springs appearing bent. So what it was this tire was flat for weeks. And I realized when we went to the sandblast booth, when they pushed it off the trailer, you know, this was just tacked and this broke. So yeah, the whole thing was twisted. So it's just as well that we're redoing this. Because our measurements, everything was off. You know, this was twisted at that point, and it's like, I'd never liked this cut. So we're eliminating all this now. All this whole cross member, everything is gonna go away and finish nice. All right, so I put the engine hoist in there. I got this little hook I set up. We're gonna try to raise and center this axle, see how long those link arms need to be. Trying to get it. I mean, these tires rub right now because they're going to need bigger spacers, but it's a good example, I think, of how much wider we're going to need to make these rims. That's kind of maxed out. See, the tires are hitting here. Fender. See, this is what I was talking about. This link is going to come through to here, so I think that is where we're at. The axle looks like it's going to need to move a bit. Let's see. I guess we can measure off of these mounting points because we got this all squared up. Let me get a tape. So looking at this, you know, I want the car to be low. And right now, it's about maxed out because the tires are going to hit the fender at that point. So that's just, we're going to live with that amount of drop. I'm looking at the frame to the ground. The frame hangs below this. The frame to the ground at this point is 19. And to the bottom of the tire is 20. So technically the car's underground now. Body of the car will be lower, so that's cool. Because that link arm, we don't want hitting the airbag mount. That's this. To this point here, coming out to there. So see, I didn't want it to hit that. So we're cool. I'm going to measure height on the car, make sure it's level, and then I'm going to measure how far the axle is back. Quick reference. Let's go right to the center of that bracket to here. It's 25 even. Bracket to here. 25 even.
I had a strong.
The tires are
suspicion.
wedged up in the body, and the body is sort of triangular, so there you go. But is the car level to the ground? From there to there is 29 and a quarter. Yeah, wow, 29 and a quarter. To the bolts. 30 to the top of the bolt. 29 and a half. So that's saying it's got to go up a quarter inch. Because looking at the C notches, we are 1 and 7/8. We are 2 and a quarter. Yep. So this tire's got to come up a wee bit, or this one's got to go down. Oh, hear that? Mm-hmm. It just came down. Okay, 30. Still got to come up a little bit. I'm not going to stress on that because as long as we make these links and the other link the same length, that axle's going to center up once we put it all together because we were close. So we know that this is even here. So at 25, we want this link arm to index in here, and that is going to be 20 inches long. Let's take a look at this one. From there, come on. Yeah, if we make both these link arms 20 inches long and squeeze it, then it's going to fall into place. That's our measurement. Let's cut 2 tubes at 20 inch. So I hope with that quick description of the measurements adding up at the end, I hope that makes sense to everybody, because we know that our mounting points are even on the chassis and they're even in width, and our points on the axle are even in width and positioning. So even though right now the tires are sitting a little bit wonky, everything's locked in now, or about to be, because everything is in the same length. So probably what's going to happen is as I put this last link in, I'm going to have to use this ratchet strap, tighten everything up, and then it'll be aligned. Do you see how these fit in there? Mm-hmm. So it's like a perfect fit. They're just indexed like that. So see how it's...
This is really interesting. I've never seen this be done before. It's really
kind of
cool.
techie. It's kind of techie.
Seems fairly straightforward, though.
It is. It's just these big, heavy parts and the, the big unknown of how is this. The major thing in this is the pinion angle, because it's adjustable suspension, and again, not a lot of travel, but you don't want this to be twisting up and down to increase the angle in here and potentially rise up and cause it to hit in here. So that's the unknown. That's why I'm tacking it instead of welding it hard. So see, I'm just going to put a loop on there, put a hook on there, just going to bring it in and lock it. See that? Mm-hmm. Now we know we're at 20 inches. Hard measurement. And I'm looking at these heim joints and I'm making sure that they're neutral, meaning that they're straight up and down in their mounting points. So as this thing travels, right now they're locked shut, the shortest they can be. So, yeah, that looks like, in other words, I'll be able to twist them a little bit, but I'm just trying to keep it as close as possible. Okay, so we got these two pulled down tight. Try not to run the arc through the heim joint. Keep everything isolated. All right, cool. So, we got 2 links. Third is next. Okay, so I did a bunch of welding. I did a bunch of grinding and a bunch of cutting in there. I took the top off these 2 brackets now. It's because it was pre-drilled. I cut that tab off that was below because the leaf springs were X amount wider than these. And then I drilled the remaining piece to fit this hardware. So we're going to do the same as we did with the heim joints. We're going to set these up in this fashion with, oh, we only need 1 bracket per side. Cool. I was about to double it. Okay, so we're going to, thinking ahead of myself. Yeah, we're going to have that like that. Cool. So I'm going to have to get longer bolts, but I think I could just get it to grab once I get in there. So let's take 2 nuts and get under the car. See what this is going to take. Yeah. So I drilled that, and now these are going to mate up to that with this coming off this way. Yeah, cool. It's just enough thread to mock it up. Definitely gonna need longer bolts. So what I was saying from the beginning, see the heim joints here can swivel, right? Mm-hmm. But these don't swivel. Mm-hmm. These only do this. That's why the swivel happens back there. Cool, let's weld this. Okay, so I got that in place. That is pushed in. Tack it. Now we got some designing to do. We have to come from point A to point B in a way that doesn't really interrupt the seat. Because you figure when this comes up, it's not coming up this high, but you're gonna have some trouble with the seat cushion. If you had a chop top, it would be really a problem, but we got a lot of room. We could have the seat up a little bit tall if we need be. Let's look at how much it interferes. So just saying, this angle here, so yeah, it comes up into the seat, but I don't know if I see that as being a big issue. We're gonna have to bend these tubes to get it to that angle. Or do we bend? Yeah, let's put these in the bender and pull them. So I made this template with the wire off of the angle I need because we're going to build sort of a hoop. It's hard to describe in words, but I'll show you where we're going and why I'm choosing this with the spare parts I have. So Jamie asked why I didn't bend this with the other handheld thing. It's because look at the wall thickness, super thick. A little TV magic.
We really stay away from TV magic though on here. I'm
just saying, we got 2 identical pieces just like that. So this is what I want to do. Those 2 urethane bushings, they're coming out parallel with the frame rails. So what I want to do here, see the triangulation happening? Mm-hmm. they're coming out this way. We have one pivot. That's going to get me. That pivot's larger, as I mentioned. That's a 3/4, and this is set up for the smaller bung hole. So I have this 1.5-inch tube. Right? You got that starting, and they're short. They don't make it. So we got the larger tube that fits that piece, and these also telescope right in. So I'm going to make a top half of the hoop right now to do that. Told you, it's exciting. A little problem solving. Hopefully I don't mess this up. So we're going to try to calculate. This is all the scrap we got. Like I said, spare parts at this point. So if we're halfway through the bend, we want that halfway there. So we're going to try that. See what we end up with. Let's cheat just a little bit. Let's see if it works out. I don't know. Cool. We get that, we get that, we get that, we get that. Let's bend it. I don't know how much we're going to need to pull this, but we're going to start it. We're going to check that. We're going to make another template. See where we're at. Okay, so I'm coming in the same amount of bend I had on those. I'm going to bring it right to this mark. Now I'm going to set these up the same width as the car. Do it on the floor for ease of discussion. So the mounts on the car are 35.5 inches wide. And we want that square. Check. There. We want that square. Look at that. So, this measurement is 12.5 on the outside, and it is approximately 21 from the base. Let's see what this is. There, we need 20. Wow, cool. We need about 22, 23. So this piece here, we want it to follow this angle. And that should put it, we want it about, because that piece is adjustable back there. So we want to be somewhere in this range. And we want it at that bend. So if the radius was this much, we'd be way too big. But remember, we got a mellow radius. So let's bend it at this angle. Bend it a little less, and then we'll see. Wow, it's over 90 degrees.
Yeah. What do they call that? An acute angle? Acute is when it's less than 90, and I think obtuse is when it's greater than 90. Geometry was like 30 years ago. I was thinking about that when I graduated from high school 30 years ago.
Nope.
I can't, like, that's just crazy to me. 30 years. I was thinking about that last night.
How did it happen? How did we get here?
You're awake because of the car, and I'm awake because I graduated high school 30 years ago.
Somebody let me off of this ride. All right, so we're not there yet, but we're close. Let's make a mark where this sits in the tool. Let's take a look at what we're up to. I got a couple tricks so we can make that angle perfect. Yeah, so we are coming out just a little bit off, but I got a little wiggle room on those mounts. I'm going to cut this back. Just take a look at this. We're gonna even that out. We want this to be here, max, for the potential moment. So we want, let me cut this off right here. Let's just put this on here and see what we're working with. So if that's just sitting there like that, see, they're not perfectly square now, but it's not going to bother me. It's at 36, and what did I say? To the outside. Yeah, that'll work because I could just pinch that in with the strap a little bit. Yeah, look, we're at our minimum mark. So what I could do is with that strap, I could pull this in tight. Let's lay this in the car and see what they're dealing with, because we're gonna have to attach the bung to that somehow. But you see what I'm getting at? In the car, you have the two link arms on the bottom, but now this one is working only like this. And then the axle pivots on there. And that's strong. I mean, this is no racing trophy truck or anything, but to deform this with the axle and that power plant, I don't think it's gonna happen. I could always put a gusset right through here, but I don't see that distorting at all. So we're gonna put this on that lug. This, oh look, it slides right on. I mean, come on. Then that, heck yeah. So, check this out. This lines up. This lines up. Can you see that? How it's off center? Mm-hmm. That doesn't bother me. You know why it doesn't bother me? Because we said that it wasn't centered to begin with. I'm going to attach that right to here. I'm going to drill a hole in this with the hole saw. Wait, is this? Oh, this isn't even right here. That's why this got to come. This can come out. This is slipped on more on one side than the other. Let's take this out to here.
And then once you get all that lined up, you'll weld all those pieces.
Yes, so I'm gonna drill a hole in this and I'm gonna feed the bung hole right in the tube. It's gonna be epic. That got me really excited. I can't believe this worked. That is exciting. So by loosening this up just a bit, this can push out right to there. So top, because this is where the dyslexia comes in when you get excited. So I'm going to take this back to the bench. I'm going to take the bung hole off. I'm going to weld that right on the bench. This is a keeper. Actually, I'm not going to weld it on the bench because we're going to have to thread it to put it in. So we got this mark here. We want this. See, these are meant to be welded. See, this would fit in there like that. Mm-hmm. We're going to put it right there. Mm. Let's find a drill bit to match. Yeah, that made a whole, that little nuance made the whole course of events for the afternoon a lot more straightforward.
Yay.
I was not expecting that. So once again, this looks a little bit pointed down to me, but we can adjust that right now. So we're just going to push this stuff into place, see what it looks like, then we'll see if it works. So I want this to look like this. Tack that. This. There. This. Man, that looks pretty cool. I like it. Let's see what happens. I don't want to weld on that urethane much more than that. It'll start to melt it. We're gonna have to take it apart to make that happen. All right. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna kick those stands out from the other way. So the airbags are gonna go in here to push down, but right now I have the engine hoist holding that, so I should be able to cycle it down until that hoist hits here, and that's about as much as the bags are gonna move. All right, let's drop this. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, cool. Pinion angle looks perfect. See the articulation? Mm-hmm. It's all on that heim joint. You saw it here, live and direct. It actually works. I'm gonna raise it up once more just for visual. So what you're seeing right now is as the airbags will lower, the car's dropping. All the way down to 0. You inflate the bags to drive. There it is. Science. When you're going over a speed bump. I like it. It's gonna work. Lucked out again.